So, sorry for the delay. I am going live. So, I want to go live today. First and foremost, I want to thank each and every person who has subscribed to my YouTube channel, Ask a Debt Collector, who's liked the video, shared the video, commented on the video, all of that stuff. Thank you guys for that. I am going live, I believe, on LinkedIn and now YouTube. Um, One of the things I don't want you guys to forget about, there is a free letter bundle in my YouTube. For those of you who are on YouTube, you'll get a cease and desist, a Goodwill letter, and a pay to delete letter, ultimately with regards to that. And then lastly, as you guys can see at the top, it's a free 20-minute consultation. Doesn't necessarily mean you're obligated to actually have to sign up for credit repair. But if your score is in the 4s, the 5s, or the 6s, I do recommend you sign up for a consultation so that way we can see where you're at, take you from where you are, and get you to where you want to be. And that is that. So ultimately, whether you're watching on YouTube, you're watching on LinkedIn, if you have any questions, put them in the comment section. I will actually get the comments and I will actually answer those questions regarding credit or debt. So let me look here. I'm going to start out with questions that I recently received on YouTube in particular, because on the videos and so forth that I have, a lot of times people are asking. So let me go here. Okay, so I had a comment from YB again, and I want to talk about his question or what he actually said because it made a lot of sense with regards to everything. He said, bro, I'm watching this video, which was a video that I had of why a 700 credit score can change your life. I'm watching this video because I just turned 19 and my credit score is at a 711. Now, the reality is this guy at 19 years old had a FICO score of a 711. I put up a video where how a 700 credit score can change your life. At 19 years old, my credit was shot. So he's starting above and ahead of the game. One of the things I always talk about is adding an authorized user on your kids as an authorized user on your credit card. I'm not sure if this kid with a 711 credit score actually was an authorized user and how he built his credit up at 19. You know, it could have been a year. He could have had a car and a few things on his credit profile to actually build his credit. But I keep looking to the left for those of you who don't know, because in case I get a message or anything along those lines, I could see you there. But the reality is he was able to build his credit at that time span. He had a 711 FICO score. And for my kids, I'm adding them as authorized users so that when they turn 18, they'll have a 700 plus FICO score. And not only that, but they will have the knowledge and understanding of how to use a credit card, the best ways to use a credit card, how to stay away from debt, how to leverage debt, and so forth, so that they can be above the grade. You know, obviously with myself, my credit was a lot different. My credit score at 18, I believe, was like in the 500s. It was messed up. And I didn't actually get a hold of my credit and do anything right with my credit till I was about 33, 34 years old. And for those of you who don't know, I am currently 41. I just turned 41 in December. But that's what happened. So it's very, very key, if you're not in the 700 club, that you actually work to get there. And if you need a professional to do it, up above, sign up for a free consultation with regards to that. Let's go to another question. Another comment. Okay, so I had Gigi 5 days ago. She commented on one of my videos. She said, can a debt collection agency contact you after 20 years and sue you? Now, this lady in particular, I can tell was distressed. The reason why I know is because as a debt collector, I remember getting in contact with these type of consumers. And yes, I did for a certain extent, take advantage of them. When you contact the consumer and they're scared or they're nervous, a lot of times they're going to pay. So as a collector, we're licking our chops and we're saying we're going to pay. But a 20-year-old debt, can you be sued on it? The reality is, if you haven't had a judgment on that account, then the answer is no. You cannot be sued on a debt that's 20 years old. Now, the reality is this. They can continue to call you if you didn't pay it, but they can't do anything. They can't place it on your credit report because after 7 years it gets done. They can't sue you typically. If you want to know whatever state that you live in, if someone can actually sue you, all you have to do is Google a time barred account and they'll let you know when someone can sue you. So typically, when someone can sue you and then an account being placed off of your debt, it can take some time. So, let's say in the state of California, for the most part, if I remember correctly, I believe it's 3 years after the date of last payment that they can actually sue you. And then after 7 years, like across the board with every state, accounts can be removed from your credit report. Now, there are some states that allow suits to go up to 10 years, right? I think Ohio happens to be one of those places. So if you have a debt there, it may not be on your credit report because 7 years it has to come off. But in the state of Ohio, they can still sue you. But to the lady who asked, and I actually answered, Gigi, she was stressed out a little bit. I could tell. We went back and forth on the questions. After 20 years, there's nothing nobody can do. Now, out of morally, if you felt like, hey, I wanted to pay the account, you can possibly pay the account. Understand, if you do make a payment, that can start the statute of limitation all the way over. So I wouldn't recommend making monthly payments. But if you feel like paying the balance, you owed $1,000 and you feel like paying $1,000 because you owed that account, you can obviously do that, but understand when you do pay it, depending on the agency that has the account, they can place it back on your credit as an actual account that's been paid, and it can stay on your credit report for 7 years. So typically, debt that's owed, I don't care whether you morally feel like you have to pay it or not, I recommend that you don't pay it. And it sucks that there are debt collectors out there. I know I mentioned people being scared, but I'm not going to try and force you to pay a 20-year-old debt that you actually have. But ultimately, a collection agency can call you as long as they're calling you within the time frames. I believe it's 8 o'clock in the morning to, 8 o'clock in the morning to like 9 p.m. Your standard time, your time. So if someone's calling you from California, they're 3 hours ahead. If you're in New York and it's 9 o'clock, or let's say 8 o'clock p.m. their time on the West Coast, they'll be in violation of the FDCPA. They have to respect your time frame. No matter where they're calling from, whatever the time is in your area is the time that they have to actually call you with regards to that. Now, as you can see down below, if you are watching this live and you have a question about credit or debt, feel free to put it down in the comment section. I'll definitely answer that question. And if I don't get any more questions, I will go back to my YouTube page and go over another question. But yes, to answer that one, 20-year-old debt, don't worry about it. 7-year-old debt, for the most part, don't worry about paying it unless you live in one of the states where they can sue you up to 10 years. Ohio happens to be one of those states. But in order to find out and know for sure, you actually have to, I recommend, Google it. Just Google in your state, what are the statutes of limitation with regards to a civil suit, and boom, you'll get that answer concerning that. Okay, I have another one from Tamika Ruffington. She asked me this about 6 days ago. She says, the light company sent me to collections. It's not reporting on my credit, but the account is in their hands. What should I do? Because I don't want this reported on my credit report, is basically what she said with regards to that. Now, it's very, very key, and this is why I'm a big advocate. If you get a letter in the mail from a debt collection company, typically that first letter, it's going to give you 30 days to dispute the validity of the debt. If you allow that 30 days to elapse, then automatically, without having to verify that account, they can put it on your credit. So you have to be very, very careful when a letter comes in the mail. Now, with this client in particular, she overheard that her account was being sent to collections. Now, before anything can happen with that account, before it's placed on your account as a debt collection company, you have to send out a demand letter. Basically, that demand letter will state that you have 30 days to dispute the validity of the debt. And most people, what do you do with your letters that come in the mail? You get them and you throw them away. When you do that, you lose your opportunity with regards to avoiding an account going on your credit report. So what I told her is number one, if you don't want it on your credit, your best bet in that time span, when they give you that 30 days, is to pay it. Because if you pay it at that time span, they're not going to place it on your credit. They're just going to update the account as a paid account, whether it's settled or whatever the circumstance is. And that's why you have that small window. It's very vital. When you get letters in the mail from a debt collection company, you don't throw it away. You actually open it up and you read it. See what it is, what's being said on there. Because a lot of times, I can't tell you how many times I've come across people who said, yeah, I got a letter in the mail, but I didn't owe it. And so what did you do? Well, I threw it away. Well, you threw it away, and now the 30-day time span lapse. It's placed on your credit, and now what are you going to do? You're going to be stuck with it. Those of you who are watching, if you have a question about credit or debt, put it in the comment section. I'll do my best to answer it. Given the time frame, I could almost guarantee you I will answer it. So let's go on to some other questions. This is a good one. Bruce, he put this in the comment section on my pay to delete letter video. It's probably one of my most popular videos. He said, so if you send a pay to delete letter, you're not admitting it's your debt and restarting the 7-year clock or anything like that. Now, a pay to delete letter, for those of you who don't know, is a great strategy that you can use with regards to whether you're settling out an account or paying an account in full. You want a pay to delete. You want the company to delete the account if you pay the account, right? Now, understand, debt collection companies don't have to do it, but a lot of them will do it. I remember the companies that I work for, and even my company that I own, if someone paid, we would offer a pay to delete letter. Now, if you're sending a pay to delete letter to a company blindly, and yes, you're not specifying that, hey, we do have this account here. I'm not admitting to this account, but I am requesting or seeing if you will accept a pay to delete. That's great. Now, the best way to use a pay to delete letter, by this time, you've probably tried to dispute the account. You weren't able to get it off. Now you're looking at a settlement. One of the things that I recommend that you do within that pay to delete is to do it like this. You call up the company. I have a video. The best time to call, you're calling towards the end of the month. The reason why you want to call towards the end of the month is most debt collection companies are a month-to-month business, and by that time, they're in commission. If you call them at the end of the month, they're more willing to take a better settlement. So you call them last day of the month. You get them on the phone. You tell them, hey, I have a $1,000 account. I have, let's say you're trying to get a 50% off. I have $500. I'll give you a credit card by phone, because that's the way that I recommend that you pay. And we can go into that a little bit later if anybody has a question with regards to that. But I will pay you with a credit card by phone $500 today. And then that collector, typically they're going to place you on hold. They may not even have to ask. It was something we would do all the time just as a psychological thing to make you think that we're trying to work or doing something on your behalf. We pick up the phone. Okay, we'll accept the $500. Before you pay them, you say, email me an actual arrangement letter showing that you're agreeing to settle for the $500 to close this account out. Then if they don't want to email you anything, then I wouldn't accept the settlement. Don't pay them without something in writing. So once they get ready to send it to you in writing and you get it in writing, then you look at the email, you look over it, make sure it states what it is that you're stating and that they're stating that they're going to do with regards to it. Once that does happen, then you call them back or you place them on hold, or you could make sure that arrangement states what it is that they're stating. They're agreeing to close the account out for whatever arrangement that you did. In this case, $500 to close the account out. And then right before paying them, you go, oh, I forgot. Another thing. I got the $500. The only last thing that I need is I need you to delete it off of my credit. And by that time, typically, if you're dealing with a collector, if it's a policy, yes, we'll do that. That's automatically going to be that. Make sure that that's in writing. So if they agree upon that and they say, yeah, we'll delete off your account, don't just accept that and say, okay, and then give them the credit card to make the payment. No, 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 no. You need to have them send it to you in writing. But a lot of times with the letters that we sent out a long time ago when I was in collections, it was in there. I would just direct them to where it is. And that's the best way you use a pay to delete letter. And no, you're not admitting to the debt as long as you're not saying that you're going to pay it. Or if you're sending a pay to delete letter, just make sure you have something in there, a clause stating that you're not admitting to the debt. So that way you have a record in case some collection agencies will try and restart that clock, and that won't be your situation. Let's go to another question. And that was a great one. Okay, so I had Sean RB 6 days ago on the pay to delete. I always get a lot of comments under there. He said I have 5 collections. Make sure I don't have any comments. I have 5 collections of 300, 500, 680, 690, and 2200, all from 2019 and 2020. So he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 accounts. He gave the balances $300, $500, 680, 690, $2,200 from 2019 to 2020. So chances are we're in 2023. So depending on where he's at, there's a possibility he could be sued, but it depends on what state he's in. If I offer to pay that for 50% of the debt, are the collectors more likely to accept or haggle me with regards to that? So he's asking, if he offered 50% on all of that debt on each one of those accounts, will the debt collector accept it or haggle? Well, number one, it depends on what collector you have. If you got me on the phone back in them days, I'm going to always haggle to a certain extent. Now, towards the end of my collection career, I wouldn't haggle. I would accept 50%. That's what we would accept right off the bat. Everybody, I would offer a 50% settlement, and that's what it is. But for the most part, it depends. If you're calling at the beginning of the month and you're offering 50%, and that debt collector needs to get in the commission and so forth, chances are they're going to haggle and they're going to say no. If you call in the last day of the month and you're offering 50%, chances are they're going to accept it, right? Your chances are going to heighten. And the reason why, like I stated before, is because most debt collection companies are month-to-month business. They're probably in commission. So that extra 50% off of those accounts, whether it's $300 or $2,000, they're going to get a certain percentage of that as commission. And they're more willing to settle because they want the money versus telling you no and then you hang up and you don't pay. And then you call back next month and guess what? Chances are that 50% settlement ain't going to happen. But yeah, they're going to haggle you. I have another one, which is pretty good. And this one was on 3 things about, when you co-sign. So I have a video up there where I talk about co-signing for people. This person, Ricardo, said, I have a question. Make sure I have no videos there. If I agree verbally over the phone to co-sign a home equity line, so verbally over the phone to co-sign for a home equity line, but decide to back out before e-signing any documents, would there be any problems? Or is this totally legal and okay? So the reality is, if you didn't sign an e-docu-sign or you didn't sign on that dotted line and you verbally agreed to co-sign for somebody, that does nothing. It's almost like going to a car lot and saying, yeah, I'm going to co-sign for this person. And then as they did all the work, even if you went through all the work, you took the test drive, all the documentation, you had the person, they ran both of you guys' credit and so forth. If you don't sign, typically it's not a legal document. So understand with regards to that. If you are, I don't recommend co-signing, period. And if you're going to co-sign, obviously if it's your kid and they live with you, or if you're co-signing for a friend or family or whatever, look at your budget. And you have to look at them defaulting, because 85% of people who need a co-signer, why are they needing a co-sign? Because their credit's messed up. And when their credit's messed up, chances are they're going to default. And if they default, you as the co-signer will be held liable just as much as they are. And if you don't have the funds to actually take over the payments and you can afford to pay it, regardless of what it is, I don't care what it is, then don't do it. Period, point blank. Don't do it. If you have good credit and the person has bad credit and they need a co-sign with regards to something, how about you help them get their credit set up? Whether you're adding them as an authorized user or you're teaching them what it is, that the steps that are needed in order to get their credit applied and set up. So, co-sign, no. As long as you ain't signed a document, then you should be fine. Okay, so I have how to get the perfect credit score. Somebody by the name of Zoe as, is the credit utilization for each individual card or your overall portfolio? So when you're looking at credit utilization, right? Let's say you have one credit card. You have a balance of $1,000. We'll use easy round numbers, right? And you spent $500 of that $1,000 credit. Then your utilization is now at 50% total, because that's the only card that you have. Now, if you added another $1,000 to it, now you got a $2,000 utilization. You have $2,000 credit limit. And if you only spent that $500, your utilization drops from 50% down. So you have $500 of the $2,000. So the reality is, it's across the board on all your credit cards. If you had $10,000 in credit cards, on one of your credit cards you had a $1,000 limit on it, and you spent $1,000, you still have $10,000. So your utilization, to use easy round numbers, will be only 10%, even though you max out that credit card. Now, it's not something that I recommend. I recommend you use a little bit of every credit card and spread it about. But your utilization does not change whether you max out one card, but you got 3 other cards that you have a 0 utilization, or you're using a little bit. They take the full amount of your credit limit, and then whatever utilization of that card that you're actually using will be taken out. Those of you who are jumping in, if you have a question about credit or debt, feel free to jump in, put it in the comment section. I'll definitely answer that, as well as hit me with a thumbs up. That'll help the algorithm and push it to more and more people with regards to watching these videos. So, if nobody has a question, I'm not seeing anything in the system. So, let's go to the next thing. Next question I have. Okay, so we got Frankie. Hello, I was wondering if it would be okay to open a separate checking account just so you can put money to pay the debt collector through a checking account so they don't have access to your main account. This is at one point, and this guy, I remember saying that. And in this video, the video is titled The Best Way to Pay a Debt Collector. So I have a video, The Best Way to Pay a Debt Collector. And he actually stated what it was. And I go, no, the best way to pay a debt is by credit card. Now, I did that video probably 2 years ago, and he was wondering about a checking account. Now, ultimately, this is what I'll tell you. When you're paying a debt with a credit card, now mind you, I'm not saying you're using this credit because you can't afford to pay the debt in general, so you're going to use another card to pay it. Now, if there's a situation where you're going to probably be sued or you're trying to keep something off of your credit report, that's a good option. But ultimately, across the board, I'm talking about people who use their credit cards like debit cards or however you use your credit cards. You're better off paying a debt collection company with a credit card. The reason why is because the laws with a credit card, when you do a chargeback, credit card companies are on your side as a consumer. When you pay with a check by phone, you're going to have to go through a lot to get the money back. Most credit cards, if let's say the company says, yeah, I'll accept a $500 settlement for a $1,000 limit, and for whatever reason, they don't give you that settlement letter, or you gave them the money and they didn't abide by what you stated, that they verbally stated, because let's say you didn't get the information correctly, then with a credit card, you can always do a chargeback. Companies, debt collection companies hate chargebacks. So you could call them back, try and get your money back, say, hey, did it, and if they refuse to pay it, let them know, hey, it's a credit card. I'm going to do a chargeback because you didn't abide by what happened. If you pay with a check by phone or even one of those prepaid debit cards, which was something I used to tell people to do back in the day, so you're not sued or so people don't have access to your account, there's no need to open up another checking account. My encouragement to you is to just pay with a credit card, because chargebacks, you can get your money back. Most of those have zero liability. As soon as you contact your credit card company and you let them know that, they will, in fact, give you back the money. So that's the situation with regards to that. If you have a question, put it in the comment section. If you brand new coming in, hit that like button for me so that way this video can be shared to a lot of people. Let's go on to the next question. Okay, hi. I used to work for a company about almost 4 years ago. I had to quit my job and leave for a family emergency outside of the United States. I did discuss the emergency and let my supervisor/team know what was going on, to leave and wouldn't be able to come back to the job I should have. I remember this one. This was 2 weeks ago. So this is a person who is not a full citizen here in the United States, but he comes back and forth and he works. It's a very, very long question, but I'm going to get into the gist of it. So basically, what ended up happening with this guy is the job, which was a salary-based job, paid him, I think, for like 3 months. It kept paying him, even though he had quit and had to leave for an emergency out of the state. What did he do? He collected the money. He kept the money. 3 months of payments, he collected the money. When he came back almost 4 years later, that company started going after him for the extra money that was due. And in his mind, he said, you know what? I didn't give the money. They're the ones who gave me the money. And they put it in my account. So I spent it. And I had to let them know something. It's almost like the IRS. If the IRS gave you a tax refund and put some extra money in your account on accident, and then they came back around and realized they gave you an extra $1,000, $2,000, $5,000, you owe that money, and you're going to have to pay it back. You, as a consumer, when he was working at that job, I had to let him know the reality is this. You worked, and you knew you stopped at that specific date. When they kept paying you for those 3 months, what you should have done was call them up and say, hey, you guys are paying me. I want to make sure I return this money and do whatever. Obviously, you have the option of saying, you know what, I'm going to hold on to this money. And there's a possibility you could have got away with it. But if they come back and want the money, you're going to have to pay it. It's just like we hear these stories all the time where someone deposited $1 million in the wrong bank account. And the person pulls out as much money as they can from that account before they correct the mistake. When they take that money back, and whatever you took, by law, you're going to be liable to have to pay it back. So be careful in that. It's almost been 30 minutes. I wanted to do this live for about 30 minutes. We're going to do the live every Tuesday like I had before. As you can see, it's gotten a little more professional. Looks a little better. Have the Ask the Debt Collector right over here, or Actually, over here, I got to get used to these cameras. Up above, it says sign up for a free consultation. And then I added a little extra little thing that says live. And then down at the bottom, as you guys can see rotating around, it said, what questions do you have? Be sure to put them in the comment section. That's the information that you have there. I'm trying to make better quality, right? When I first started out with YouTube, it was all about quantity, getting as many videos out as possible. Now I'm trying to do quality over quantity, right? I want to put out the best information, the best videos that I can that are going to help you guys out. Be on the lookout. I have a video that I'm going to be doing on the best way to dispute accounts. I'm going to go step by step with regards to how to do that. That's going to be what I consider factual disputing. You're looking at all three credit bureaus. You're looking at an inaccuracy. You're calling them on that inaccuracy, and you're asking them to remove that account. That's the way that I dispute accounts. I'm going to do a video breaking down step by step how to do that. Look for that. That should be coming sometime this week, if not early next week. And then I will continuously go live. Check out my shorts as well. That's something that's so simple to do, and yet it gets a lot of views and so forth with regards to that. And like I always state, if you have any questions, put it down in the comment section. I promise I'll answer those questions as I went through the questions that I had before. I will continuously do that. And next Tuesday, I think I'm going to go over credit cards, applying for credit cards, and the best method and way to do so. And to get away from, let me apply for this credit card, hopefully I get approved for it. And strategically, applying for the credit cards that are going to best benefit you. Thank you guys for tuning in. So much gratitude, so much love. Until next Tuesday.